All right, a couple of things. This is going to be security myths exposed. My name is Marcus Carey. I go by Marcus J. Carey because there's actually a lawyer from Kentucky, and since I'm in Tennessee, we don't do we like Kentucky and Tennessee? They're all right. It's, it's a lawyer out there named Marcus Carey from Kentucky, and I don't like so that's why I use the Marcus J. Carey. Online, my Twitter handle is at Threat Agent, and I'm on Freenode IRC. If you see Threat Agent, that's me. That's uh, so. This is where I'm from, Marlin, Texas. It's a one-horse town. I can fit right. that's why I fit in so well around these parts. I know there's probably some parts of Tennessee that look like that. So anyway, small town. When I was 18 years old, I joined the military. I joined the U.S. Navy, and I probably seen more Navy people here than any other site I've ever been to. I know y'all probably know the Kahuna. He's actually, I think, running the CTF. He's staff here. He blew my mind last night. He was on the same ship I was on. That's insane. I usually have to explain what the Navy is to a lot of people, what we do, and all this stuff. This dude was on the same ship as me. I can't believe it. He blew my mind. And I've known Kahuna for a while. So the Kahuna, he's an awesome guy. But dude was on the same ship as me. He was on the Ingersoll. That was awesome. So my first duty station in the Navy was Scotland. This actually is the shield for Edzell, Scotland. It's funny because when I was joining the military, I asked for a duty station that was like in Texas or on the West Coast. They sent me to Scotland, which was awesome. I met my wife there and all that stuff. They said when you go to Scotland, you either leave Scotland as a drunk, married, or both. I came back married. Wasn't a drunk, but there was plenty of people that got hammered over there. So the whole time I was in the military, I was a CT, a crypto guy, and I've met a couple of CTs here. This blew my mind. A couple of guys that did the same stuff that I did in the military are at this conference. So SkyDogCon is where all the spooks hang out. Yeah, tripped me out. So worked there for a while. And the reason why I got this up, Excelsior College, this is like the hacker college right here. You can hack your degree, and you can get a degree from Excelsior. While I was in the military, I actually clept, and I tested out on 115 things just by reading them and taking the test. So if you want, I encourage hackers everywhere. If you don't have a degree, if you want a degree, look at clepping out and doing that stuff. This is just a little bit of stuff that I've learned over the time. I worked for CSC for a long time, 6 years. During this process at CSC, we used the actual scientific method for everything. We used it to develop forensics courses when I worked at the DoD Cybercrime Center and things of that nature. Also got a degree from Capital College, a master's degree from them. I taught at Johns Hopkins. This is where we get into the money here. So I worked at the DoD Cybercrime Center, and there we taught cops from DoD and some civilian agencies, FBI, and any three-letter agency you ever want to meet. We taught them forensics. We also taught them hacking stuff, and all kind of good stuff. During that time, I actually worked with Johnny. Johnny Long is a pretty popular in the hacker community for Hackers for Charity. And actually, there's a Hackers for Charity booth out here on the right here. So if you have time, they're doing an auction, and they have a lot of cool stuff over there for auction. They have tons of books. So just go put in a bid. Go put in any bid. Encourage you guys to visit that. They actually brought me a bunch of T-shirts here. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to ask a lot of questions. This is going to be a crowd participation talk. So if you get the question right, you're going to get a T-shirt from Hackers for Charity. All right. So anyway, after I left working with Johnny for a while, we hacked mad stuff and all that, right? So I worked at CMS for a while. What is that? Oh, we're right by our airport, right? I thought somebody had some bad lunch for a second there. So I worked at CMS for a while. At CMS, I was like one of the top security guys there. I actually subcontracted Lockheed Martin. I had my own business for a couple of years, and there I was actually one of the top security consultants. I would advise them on stuff to use. I used to test products because every vendor always want to come in and sell stuff to the government. So for Lockheed Martin, what I did is I evaluated new products, and you have to have and what I learned through that process is that not a lot of organizations have any kind of evaluation criteria. Most organizations buy stuff based on, hey, my CISO went to RSA and he says this is what we should buy, right? And if something's popular, like this year, I believe mobile is really popular. Everybody's doing mobile. Last year it was DLP. I mean, it's always a different trend every different year, right? So, and I was the guy that always got, the CISO wants to do this. Marcus, can you look at these products? So I would look at the products. I use scientific method. So now I work at Rapid7, and I'm a vendor too. So I'm working for a vendor now, but still, even Rapid7 products, scientific research if you want to buy our stuff. Any kind of product, I recommend you look at it, use scientific method to vet the product to see if it actually works for you. And I work with the Metasploit team. A couple of people here were last night. I actually showed some stuff that's not in Metasploit yet. If you can hit me in the halls, I can probably show you some cool Metasploit tricks. Make Metasploit do backflips and stuff. So I work with HD more directly. HD's my boss. He's kind of a popular guy too. So all my life, I've been lucky to work with cool people like that. So last night I demoed this piece of thing right here. It's a JavaScript keylogger that a while ago I wrote this for Metasploit, and this is actually in the Metasploit trunk. Wow, I still got Skype going. Awesome. So hopefully nobody says anything derogatory during my talk. All right, so the whole process of why I wrote a JavaScript keylogger was I hear people talking about JavaScript keylogger and doing malicious JavaScript all the time, and I wanted to see how it worked, but I couldn't find any working copies on the internet. And I saw stuff on GitHub. I saw all these different things, but I never could get it to work. And because a lot of times I've noticed that a lot of times people say something works, or I see tweets about something works, and I'll download the project and it doesn't work. One of my friends is a very, very popular hacker. This is one of the craziest things I see. This is how the hacker scene is. I'm going to say this is the hacker scene, not the hacker community. The hacker scene will retweet anything on Twitter and not vet anything, right? So my buddy, this dude, I highly respect this guy. This dude's awesome. I'm not going to say his name. He released the open source project, tweeted out on Twitter, and so everybody on Twitter was going nuts. Like, oh, man, it's the best project I've ever seen in my life. This is awesome, dude. You rock. You're my hero. Dude, I want you to have my babies. All that stuff, right? And so I'm like, man, this must be pretty good. People want to have this dude's baby and name their kids after him. So I download the project. The project doesn't work. The project has a stack trace. It was in Python. Stack trace. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? Followed the stack trace. Looked at the file. My buddy, and this is a friend of mine, he misspelled a function call. It was a method or whatever, right? So he misspelled it in one of his lines of code, stack trace. So what this meant is it wouldn't have been working for anybody on Earth. But it was people in the scene and on Twitter telling this guy it was the most awesome tool they ever seen in their life. But the tool didn't work. It was broken. So I actually DM'd him. I said, hey, you misspelled a method here. He fixed it and it works. He's like, thanks behind the scenes. Hey, thanks, bro, for looking out. But all those people that were talking about how awesome this tool was, that's like the CISOs going to RSA, right? Because they're not trying it themselves. They're just spouting off what everybody else say. And if everybody else says it's cool, then they're gonna say it's cool too. I want the hacker community to stop doing that and be skeptical on everything. One more thing. Dang, these slides are kind of out of date. I'm sorry about that. But I mean, not out of date, but kind of a little bit out of order. One more reason. No, not really. I'm just going on tangents, really. I was talking about Metasploit. So bringing it back to Metasploit, we actually have Metasploit T-shirts, and the proceeds of these T-shirts, I've been like a mole at Rapid7. I mean, I've been working my way to get money to Hackers for Charity since I've been there. And so if you actually go online to Metasploit, you can actually download. You can actually grab these shirts. You can buy these shirts, and all the proceeds go to Hackers for Charity. A lot of people don't know that. So if you bought a Metasploit shirt, or if you want to buy a Metasploit shirt, that's a pretty cool shirt. It's ASCII art. It goes to HFC also. Recently, this is kind of some of the things I do at Rapid 7, right? Just to explain a little bit of what I do. So at Rapid 7, I do a lot of special projects. This project is pretty simple. I do a little JavaScript to check to see if your Java is exposed to drive-by exploits, and I give people a warning. So I wrote this a couple of months ago. These are the kind of things I do. I do special projects. I'm working on new products and stuff like that. We have a team that we focus on getting freemium stuff out there. So I actually get to code in a bunch of different languages, Rails, and I learned all kind of JavaScript, jQuery. I'm doing security products, but I'm mostly developing a lot of stuff. Do you know who this guy is? Anybody? This is the first opportunity to get a shirt. Anybody heard of the book Freakonomics? Can you name me author of that book? Stephen, that's close. It starts with a D. Stephen Dubner. I'll give you the shirt. I wish Tony Romo can throw that accurate. So Stephen Dubner, Rapid 7 actually has a conference. We actually are the founding partner to a conference called United Security Summit. It's each year in September. We've been holding it in San Francisco. So at this conference, the first year, Stephen Dubner, I love this guy. This guy's a skeptic also. He doesn't believe anything without data, right? That's his big thing. So at the beginning of the conference, what Stephen Dubner did is he asked everybody in the conference, and I'm going to ask you guys this too, raise your hand if you wash your hands after you use the restroom. Raise your hands, everyone. We got a lot of liars in the room. So Stephen Dubner, what he did for a year, and this is kind of weird if you ask me, what he did is he took a piece of paper and pencil in the restroom with him everywhere he went, hotels, airports, whatever, and he actually recorded how many people he saw actually wash their hands. So for a year, only 30% of people wash their hands. 30%. And what's funny about that number is if you look at people like patching stuff on and I call that's basic hygiene, right? But if you look at security hygiene, you see a lot of people, like only 30% of the people are even patching. So you have 70% of the world not washing their hands, not patching. And that's true numbers. I've looked it up, and I did the research on it also. If you haven't seen Freakonomics or whatever, you should actually look at this, because this actually is the core of what I'm talking about. Testing stuff out, don't believe stuff, and having actual data. One of my friends told me that, and I didn't hear this term before. You probably heard the term. He said as security professionals, we rely on gut 2.0 too much. Gut 2.0. We think it works. We put it in. We configured it. But, that's it. We just go by our gut whether it will work or not. Anybody who knows this guys? Who said that? That's what I'm talking about. Good. Ooh, too much pepper on that. That was kind of spicy coming out of there. My major league arm, I still make it try out. So, this guy's awesome. This guy invented enterprise security. Don't you think it would be awesome if we could actually show up to work like this? I think me and Dave would look good and sexy in that tight shirt. So anyway, he actually this is funny about Star Trek. Star Trek actually had so many things. This is bring your own device before it was popular. This was actually the flip phones. And right here's the Bluetooth headset. Love that. And here, right, of course, this is the Enterprise. what I liked about the Enterprise, it was really close. A lot of nautical terms, Coast Guard or whatnot. It was pretty sweet. And this right here is, I love this photo. And you've probably seen, I've seen a lot of security people use this kind of photo before. What are those things he's holding? Dang, who's the first person who said that? Hey, yeah. One at a time. We have a lady over here. Yo. Okay, that was somebody's favorite episode. That right there is a lot of people's enterprise right now. All right. All right, hold your hand on this. Hold your hand up. We're going to be like Jeopardy. What was their primary mission in life? Oh, reproduce? Huh? That's your primary mission in life, Adrian. So you got one. Raise your hand, please. Don't answer this question. You said reproduce and what? Eat? Who said eat? Dang, you can't do it. You're a Star Trek. You're a Trekkie, aren't you? I'm going to give it to my man, the Tennessee Titans. See the follow through on that. Did you catch that on camera? So their primary purpose in life was to reproduce and consume resources. Does that remind me? Does that remind you of your enterprise? You know, the enterprise you're dealing with, and they're always freaking multiplying. The headaches of multiplying. They're consuming resources. They're consuming everything, but we never take a chance to try to figure everything out. Anybody know? Anybody ever seen this? This is not a question, but anybody ever seen this show? No? YouTube. It's on YouTube. Planet Earth. Planet Earth, this was actually another Gene Roddenberry show, but it didn't make it to the big time. This was kind of like a follow-up to Star Trek. It was a story about a post-apocalyptic world, and John Saxon starred in it. He also was in this movie. What movie is this? Dang, who said that first? Oh, Dave Marcus. That's what I'm talking about. So, this guy was pretty bad. And he also starred in another movie. Oh my goodness, that was a money pull. That was a pull right there. I don't have any more t-shirts, people. All right. So anyway, he was in this movie, Nightmare on Elm Street. Awesome movie, classic movie. Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger is awesome to me because Freddy Krueger kind of represents a lot of what the hackers do, right? You know, you can't really see any signs on the outside that you're owned, but inside the mind, the CPU, the software, you are owned, and he is ripping stuff apart. Freddy Krueger represents the hackers very well. And you know who this guy is? Johnny Depp, old school Johnny Depp. Does anybody know how Johnny Depp died in this movie? He got sucked into the waterbed. And then blood spewed all over the place. You know what that's well, that's what I call a buffer overflow, though. A lot of people like from this. A lot of people either, how many pirates we have in the house? Pirates or ninjas? Pirates? I'm a sailor, so I'm a pirate. Ninjas? Pirate, no ninja love? The Vikings raped and pillaged stuff. It's a different, man. One man's sailor is the next man's pirate. So, what we see in a lot of times on enterprises and things of this nature is that we have one myth. The first myth is, I can do everything by myself. Now, how many people work in a shop where they got a guy that's the guy, and he does everything, and everybody else sits on the sidelines? Have you ever worked in that environment before? So the myth is, if I have one awesome guy in my organization, or if I'm awesome myself, like Johnny Depp thinks, and his character in this movie always is selfish and wants to do everything himself, right? That doesn't work. He always ends up in a pickle, right? So I see a lot of organizations putting themselves in that same exact scenario. I called it the Jack Sparrow complex. So a lot of times what happens is we send, and a lot of organizations mess up by sending the same one person to all the training. The new tool comes in, he's the guy that has that tool, and then after a couple of years, he has all of the knowledge. And then everybody else is like, okay, cool, can I play along too? Or that guy threatens to leave the organization. Then what happens? You have to get that guy a raise. Okay, you leaving again? Okay, let's give you another raise. And then finally he leaves and nobody knows anything. It's tribal knowledge. They didn't pass any information out. U571, favorite movie ever. This movie, the myth that this actually talks about it's a follow-up. It's another nautical type movie. What was cool about this movie is it showed you how it should work. These guys working as a small target team were captured a German sub and captured to Enigma and Crypto. Right? Go ahead.
I believe the other myth is that it was Americans who did it.
That is a myth. That is a myth. The British actually did this, but they're practically American. They speak the same language, man. Hey, my wife's from the UK and I lived in Scotland, so yeah. But Scottish people don't consider themselves British. So here we go, Mythbusters. I know everybody here likes this show, right? You know what's funny? I had this dude. I showed this slide before and said, "Who likes Mythbusters or something?" And this guy was arguing with me in the crowd. He was pissed. They're not always right. I'm like, whoa. Like, one of these guys pissing your cereal or something this morning? So anyway, the reason why I like this show is I think that security professionals need to get into this mindset of always seeing if something's a myth or not. There's a lot of products out there that are pure myths. Like one of the projects I worked on when I was at a government agency, they bought this huge solution and they bought it for all that agency and all their their tenant commands or whatever you call it. So everybody was trying to make this solution work for 5 years and the solution never worked. It was a network security thing. Never worked. It never was fully implemented. And what's crazy about it is the sickening thing was that, you know how you have contract, you have support. Well, they had an engineer that used to come on site like once a month, and he would just sit there for 8 hours, and he was like, I don't know, man, I don't know what to do. Never worked for that long. But what we need to do, if you're implementing security somewhere, no matter what kind of thing you're doing, you need to actually prove that what you're doing works before you actually procure it. You can stop that whole thing from the beginning. So a couple of weeks, this is like a month ago, or this is like a couple of months ago. So I asked, what is the worst information security myth? And then a lot of people on Twitter chimed in. This was fun because some people got passionate. Information security is an independent discipline. And then we had some people come back. My boy Hoff. Basically, it could be. Some people think that it's an independent discipline. Some people don't think it is. I think that you need to have a little bit of everything in the thing. So you're gonna see who I talked to on all my friends on Skype. Also, I thought information security biggest myth was the same defenses been used for decades are still effective. And if you would have saw the awesome fire talk last night from Dave Marcus, he actually he touched on that topic. This is Martin McKay. Antivirus, biggest myth. Dave, sorry about that, bro. I gave you one, then I punched you in the balls on the next one. Sorry about that.
Yeah, because that's never been brought up before.
That's right, yeah. Then you just wait for the slide, right? All right. We shouldn't worry about it because it never happened to us, or alternatively, because this can happen, you must fix it. A lot of people do not think that they're on anyone's radar. There's two types of attacks. There's opportunistic attacks. They're going to just hack whoever comes by, drive by malware, right? And there's attacks where people are actually targeting you. Judging from the conversations, a lot of you people here work for healthcare, government, and whatnot. You are being targeted right now. It sucks, but, you know, for sure. For shizzle. All right. Information security is the biggest myth. It's like a paradox, really. I kind of believe this. I'm of the mindset that information was never meant to be safeguarded forever, and I think that even from a most people that are doing security outside the government, you can't afford to build your own top secret network that had this air gap from the rest of the world. Those networks even get pwned from time to time. So if the people that write these standards, like NSA, DISA, all these different people, NIST and all that stuff, they can't even protect their own networks. So sometimes I wonder, why do people follow them by the T on to the T on everything they say? Because it doesn't even work for them. So I think what most organizations need to be doing is applying scientific method and saying, all right, what do I need to do? What's my reality here? Let me analyze that and all that stuff, and then I'm going to implement that. Firewall so we can be protected. Another myth. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go through a couple of these. I'm not going to read them. I'm just going to go through them, and I'm going to get to the good stuff. Unbreakable Oracle. Oracle's always a weapon, boys, initially. True. Stronger passwords, right? Complex passwords. CSSP. At a HackerCon, that goes over well. Compliance equals security. So, what it all breaks down to, none of those people were either right or wrong. Information security is whatever is true for you. Whatever's the truth for you. Now, just because it worked on somebody else's network, or you may see a vendor at some conference, it worked great on their vendor setup, because that was actually the most optimum scenario for their stuff to work, always. So just because you see an awesome demo, or they come in and show you something, you actually have to vet that out on your network and your needs, based it on your needs. So that's why the scientific method comes in handy here. What we do is we do analysis on, like, what do I need? What does this product say it can do, and what does that do? You design it, and you implement it on your network, right? And then you start a testing process, right? And then you evaluate. So in analysis phase, you should actually draw your test out. So how are we going to measure success or not? Then you actually test, evaluate, and then you perform analysis. Now this goes before you buy a product, when you have a product, and even down the road 4 years from now. You should be constantly going through this process all the time. This loop shouldn't end, because evaluation leads to more analysis, more design. It keeps on it keeps on feeding through. That's why it's a cycle. So I first learned this with Cisco. Some people hate Cisco, some people love Cisco. Back in the day, I learned this as Cisco had this course called Cisco Inter-Network Troubleshooting. Those guys actually use scientific method to troubleshoot networks. And so I know that that's kind of what showed me, oh, man, this actually works in tech, because Cisco's using the same methodology to teach people how to troubleshoot stuff. Start at layer 1, then go to layer 2, whatever. Turn it off and on, turn it off and on. Yeah, so that kind of thing. So I showed this photo last night. This is Plato. Plato actually said necessity is the mother of invention. So where necessity comes into play is, what do I need? You need solutions that fits your need, not what somebody said at RSA. Not what I'm saying now, not what somebody's going to say after me. You need to base whatever you do on your actual needs. My 16-year-old daughter, she wants a Hummer or something. You're like, seriously? It's funny because my son's a hacker and my daughter's like a diva. She's crazy. So she's living in some crazy other alternate universe. But it comes back to, what do I actually need and what do I want? So a lot of people want something, but it doesn't work and they don't really need it. And one of my favorite quotes, and this is funny, this just shows you how crazy I am. I didn't know this, but Marvin Gaye sung a song a long time ago called "Heard It from the Grapevine." I love Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye is one of the best singers ever. Pound for pound, one of the best singers ever. Marvin Gaye had a song, Heard It Through the Grapevine, and then one of the lyrics of the song was, he said, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, right? That actually came from Benjamin Franklin. That's one of his famous quotes. And I didn't know that. Somebody straightened me out, because I was on some Marvin, and no, Benjamin Franklin said that, dude. So, but that is one of the most truest, things I ever heard. And a lot of people in here know Bruce Potter. Bruce, one of his famous rants before he starts talking is he's like, dude, don't believe anything I say during this presentation, right? And I totally believe the same thing. Don't believe anything people say, because you actually need to evaluate that and run it on your own network to find out if it's true. It's good information to know what people are talking about and whatever. It's just like on Twitter. I could have believed my buddy's tool was the best tool ever, but then when I ran it myself, I realized, it's broke here. And to be honest with you, from a vendor perspective, it would be nice to know if things are broke or not. Because I see a lot of times people, customers, they'll put the blame on the vendor. Oh, this product sucks. Sometimes the product may suck, but sometimes your implementation may suck. Your design may suck. Things of that nature. And so what you need to do is sometimes you need to give that feedback to the vendor so they can actually improve the product. It's a two-way relationship, actually. Vendors, a lot of people in here are vendors or work for a vendor or whatever, a healthcare provider or whatever. I don't think most of the time people actually want to make good stuff, good product, good medicine, good whatever. But sometimes we just need to hear the feedback. So run the tools, evaluate them based on your needs, and then say, look, you're not meeting my needs here. Because if it's not meeting your needs, it's probably not working for a lot of other people. In my case, I gave feedback to my buddy. He fixed it. And so everybody else would be able to enjoy the benefits if they actually freaking ran it. Right? So, and what I think from another perspective is, because I look at a lot of stuff in warfare, I'm totally brainwashed. I'm Navy, so I'm brainwashed. Everything's like military, right? So, but what the thing is here, I talked about Jack Sparrow, and I see it time and again. One guy in the organization gets all the training, all the budget, whatever, right? And it's usually a guy. I never see a woman doing it. I never see a woman get those opportunities. But that would be awesome, though, wouldn't it? So that guy, he's in the trenches, and that dude is like overworked and stressed as a mug. But you could be like teaching everybody how to do that stuff. Rotate positions. That used to be a part of some kind of security training I've seen before. There should be job rotation. Those things aren't happening on enterprises a lot. Rotate everybody in a position, right? A lot of this stuff is easy. A lot of stuff is pushing buttons. But if you don't rotate people, you don't get to see stuff. Like if somebody's doing incident response for a while, how do you know that guy is even doing his job right? Or if somebody's doing malware analysis, how do you know he's doing his job? It's not saying you don't trust your people, but if you start moving around, everybody gets to learn and everybody helps. Everybody brings something to the table in a general scenario. So what this right here is, everybody needs to get in the trenches. Now, some people may be management, and that's not possible, but if you're a manager, you want to make sure everybody knows what the next man's job is or next lady's job is. I love this picture right here. Because a lot of times, we're simply just shooting ourselves in the face. People are getting owned every day. There's massive owners getting done on the network, and people aren't even seeing anything, right? And that's the major problem right there. That we're just shooting ourselves in the face all the time. That's why we got to get back to this method right here. So what I did here is I said these are a couple of tests, and I posed questions to you guys on, can you do this if I told you to do it? So anybody familiar with malwaredomainlist.com, right? So you need to be familiar with this site. The reason why this site is important, it gives you some pretty cool information. You can actually download a list of malware-related domains. Why is this important? Well, in my time with the government, anybody ever had any interaction with U.S. Cert in here? U.S. Cert, right? Anybody ever got a list of bad domains from U.S. Cert? Anybody got a list of bad domains saying, hey, you've been pwned, and this is who you're dialing to from US Cert? Perhaps. But how many organizations can actually verify if they're actually beaconing out to these domains? Not a lot of organizations can. Now, I think that we're not going to be able to stop like crazy, sophisticated, exotic attacks. But the truth is, a lot of attacks aren't that exotic, and there's a lot of low-hanging fruit when it comes to owners out there. One of my good friends, Joe McCrae, is a buddy of mine. He does. Yeah, you know Joe. All right, cool. Joe has fans. I love it. So Joe actually does pen tests for all kind of people, and he told me one time he went to a government spot. He went in, and he's like, "Man, somebody's already totally owned everything in there."
He also makes really good drinks.
he's known for getting his drink. He's known for getting his drink on. So what it comes down to is the actual attackers were stealing stuff, and they were using FTP. This is FTP straight to China. Right? Now, and I have a really good friend that works at DHS also, and what he tells me this: they're stealing data any way they can, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be encrypted. It doesn't have to be whatever. If they can steal data the simplest way they can, that's what they're going to do. The myth is it has to be crazy sophisticated to own people. The truth is the minimum amount of effort. And also, a lot of stuff like if you can't say, I want to see if anybody's beaconing to this domain, you got bigger problems. You're never going to find no APT. If you just can't do the basic stuff, whether APTs exist or not, some people hate that term. But if you can't see a basic domain, DNS records, if you can't inspect that traffic, you're never going to stop anything complicated. So I say just start with the basics. Like Joe. Joe told me they are pillaging this organization using FTP. Should a minimum requirement be, can I see plain text exfiltration to China? Or whatever. A lot of people don't. So in this case, if you work in an organization, the minimum requirement, I would say, is to be able to go in and pinpoint anything off this list and to actively see and actively be able to monitor it. It doesn't matter if somebody's actually beaconing there. Do some DNS lookups from a regular command line. If it's on here, just say NS lookup. It's not going to hurt anything. But then you're going to see if your DNS monitoring actually works at all. That should be, is it going to my SIM or whatever? Another thing is, right, a lot of people deal with all kind of information, and this comes from actually trying to test DOP solutions. I found that even the DOP vendors don't know how to test their own products. And they can test their product in their lab, but when it comes to deploying it in your organization, the organizations need to have a game plan for testing whatever solutions on their network. So this is a cheesy domain, and I don't recommend you go to any of these domains personally because I don't know, this could be totally owned. So don't go to anything. I'm showing you that there's a website out there that you can just create bogus credit card. They pass the loan check. It's a very basic algorithm. Who cares, right? But the thing is, a lot of people think that, oh yeah, I could totally see credit cards on my going off my network. The truth is that only less than 5% of the people could actually see credit cards leaving our network. And what happens is if you pay attention to the Verizon breach report, Verizon says that it's I think 3% of people see that they've been owned. The rest of those people are notified by third parties. So that means a U.S. cert coming in or Mandiant coming in with a fat paycheck that they want you to sign. Because when Mandiant or the FBI comes, it's too late. Hide your kids, hide your wife. Can you see? Social security cards going off your network. A lot of people can't see it. And this is very problematic because, again, low-hanging fruit. Can you see SSNs leaving your network? If you're a healthcare provider, you have certain numbers and stuff that should never leave off the network. This is why I say, create credit cards, create, fake credit cards, create all these different things. To actually test if you can monitor these things. Can you monitor DNS? Can you do all these things? And the reason why is because it's just the low-hanging dang fruit. It's like Google hacking, If somebody else can Google hack you and find, all kind of evidence, then why are you worried about some kind of crazy solution when people are robbing you anyway? But I see people spending millions and millions of dollars on these solutions, and they don't do anything. They don't work. And it could be implementation, or it could be the product absolutely sucks. People checked out this site before? This site is awesome. The reason why you should go to this site is because there's products out there called WAFs. Anybody have WAF in the organization? Do you have a process to test the WAFs out? You do? How do you test your WAF out? Okay. Yeah, it's not perfect. I mean, it's an automated way. No, I'm not hating. I'm not player hating. No hate right here. But what people should be doing is they should be looking at real-world attacks and what's going on with those real-world attacks. Because what's happening here is you see here, and it's just small maybe from the back, but you'll see Google, Yahoo. Like, those are some seriously big companies with a big budget, and they have people that know what they're doing when it comes to building web apps, right? So, if you're a small organization, do you think you can end up on this list? Heck, you may be on this list and don't know it. So the reason why you should look at this is because if you actually click on the links here, it'll show you how they cross-site scripted Google or how they cross-site scripted Yahoo, right? So if you have a WAF, what I would be doing if I were you is I would be looking at real-world attacks and launching those real-world attacks against my WAF, right? And then seeing like, okay, yeah, my WAF works because I'm doing real-world stuff that I found, in the wild, because these are active attacks. This is just like getting malware, but from a web app perspective. Because like even like LinkedIn, I think they're going public soon. They got tons of money, right? And the problem with any kind of thing, and we were actually having a conversation, David, a second ago about how and I'm going to tell the story. I saw a lady at the airport, and this lady, she had like a bruise on her face, and she had a bruise on her arms, like somebody was like holding on to her arm, like shaking her up, like Chris Rock style. I'm not going to hit you, but I'm going to shake you. One of those jokes. It looked like, I was like, man, and she's with her husband, and she had all these bruises. I was like, man, is that dude beating his wife? So I was like, man, I wanted to say something. I just want to ask her because I'm just a compassionate person. Are you okay or something? But I didn't. She probably cursed me out or something. But the thing is, like, what I see all the time on the internet, and I think it's kind of unfortunate, I see people getting compromised, like LinkedIn, and I see everybody bashing the heck out of them. Like, oh, they didn't sort their passwords. The hate comes in. Like, and I'm not saying that it's okay for them to mess up and not do that. What I'm saying is that my coach told me a long time ago, when I used to play basketball, I know you probably can't tell right now, I used to be a serious basketball player. I can even dunk. Can you believe it or not? Now, the only thing I can dunk is a donut. Well, my coach used to tell me, when you point one finger at anyone, you have three fingers pointing back at us. So we probably can do an honest appraisal. If we were honest about ourselves, we could look at our product, we could look at our organization, we could look at anything, and we know that there are several problems going on. But some reason, and I don't know if it's the security scene, the security community bashes the heck out of those people. And what concerns me about that is if LinkedIn, they're big boys, right? But what if a small business is compromised or a startup or something? I just took, $100,000 out of my pocket. I invested in something. But these people are getting sued. LinkedIn had 5 million, credit. 5 million MD5 hashes for passwords leaked. And The next week, a lawyer was put a $5 million lawsuit on LinkedIn. I'm that scares me because that would actually wipe most businesses out. If you had to pay $5 million, out of pocket for a breach, when in reality, I think there needs to be more protection for companies, and a lot of people probably not digging that. But the long term, though, what's going to happen is it's going to be too expensive to innovate. That's just a personal opinion of mine. So I think that sometimes we need to not victim shame. I can't look at a woman that's been beaten and says, "Oh, it's your fault," blah blah blah, or somebody gets mugged or something. "Oh, you shouldn't have been at that part of the town." So if somebody's getting hacked, why are we blaming the people that get owned? A lot of times, and it seems like that's what happens. And sometimes it seems like we even praise the people that are doing the hacking. It's people out there that are hacking, doing black hat activities, and they got 50,000 followers on Twitter, 100,000 followers on Twitter. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're like totally backwards. How many people actively spearfish their organization? We got one person raised their hand. True. So it's not. Yeah. So it's not. I'm not blaming you like, oh, you can't do it. You suck. I'm saying like that should be in every company's process right there. You should be allowed to do that type of activity. And at Rapid7, we do pen testing all the time, and sometimes that's not in scope. We don't want you doing nothing. We don't even want you owning boxes most of the time. We just want you to scan our network and tell us we have any vulnerabilities, right? But the truth is, the attackers don't play by those rules. So they're gonna keep on owning people all day. So what we do is, and there was a talk last night about this. About how do you train people in an organization. A lot of people, the myth is we train people once a year and they're going to be good to go, right? They're not going to be spearfished or whatever. But what you need to do, actually, year-round fishing everybody in an organization. You fail, you're fished again. Fail, fish, fish, fish. Until they get the message like, I need to scrutinize everything I click on and things like that. Also, people need to start breaking into their own buildings. Like, I worked with some crazy people back in the day. Johnny's one of them. And Johnny used to work with this guy named Vince Ritz, who I also work with. This guy would never use his badge to get in the building. I'm like, dude, you're weird, man. This guy, had a badge, he could swipe in, but he was like, he'd be scoping out the place as soon as he walked in. And Johnny worked this dude. Johnny's crazy too, but Vince was like, okay, let me see how I can get over, the guard's not looking. Break into every building, and that's what he did for fun. And I'm like, to prove that he could do it. Now, I'm not saying do it to prove that you can do it. Just ask your management, hey, look, can I look around and see if there's any ways? A lot of people just go to work every day and come back and don't care. Right? We need to start breaking into stuff. Like, break into stuff, start hacking stuff, man, and showing management why what you're doing sucks. Dumpster diving still works every day. You can probably go to the dumpster here and find all kind of good stuff. I don't recommend that, though. I didn't say that. All right. My son, I got to give my son a shout out. My son's a 16-year-old hacker, and he actually wrote the Shodan app for iPhone and iPad. My son's 16, right? So what's cool about this is it tells you two things. I think that most people can probably code and don't know it. Also, the thing is, this is a great proof positive of being able to say things like, hey, look, we got some exposure here. We're not on Shodan or whatever. And then you pull them up. You can even do it with iPhone now. You can all right, here you go, boom. You got to start showing people that they're vulnerable, they're exploitable, and all these things. If we don't do that, we're not doing our jobs right. So it's all about exposing what's the truth and what's not the truth by using scientific method. And that's I totally rest on that. And actually, because this is my favorite TV show of all time, the old school G.I. Joe, right? It's kind of a toss-up from the old school Transformers, though. But, yeah. So basically, G.I. Joe was my favorite show, and because people just don't know. So what we have to do is we have to show them, look, you're exploitable. So now they know, and what? No one's half the battle, right? Roger. So anyway, that's my talk. If you have any questions, I can take them. Any suggestions on how to do things?
So if you were the CEO for a day, and you could change one thing about your company culture to make it more secure, what would that be?
I would do rolling pen tests and rolling spear phishing on everybody in the organization all the time. I would all the time. That's the most likely method to get into an organization is going through the people. I would social engineer. I would spear phish. I would try to own everybody in the building. Because if they're under that constant, if you have that in their mind frame, they'll think secure. It'll be like out of habit. That's what I would do.
Well, because the question I have is, what convinces someone that they've purchased a multi-million-dollar security appliance or thing, and now they're safe, right? So what gets people in that mindset, and what do you think is the solution? How do you not have that false sense of security?
Okay, from a security team perspective, you need to be able to put in very, very defined tests on what we're purchasing and how the product actually fails that test. I would say, in Public Enemy had an awesome song back in the day called "Don't Believe the Hype." You know, Flavor Flav, my man. But don't buy into the hype that they see in other places, and have a process in place where you can test and evaluate stuff before you purchase it. And if the product's failing after you purchase it, have a test to say, look, this is not performing. And you can actually get a lawyer up to actually void contracts if stuff don't work. People don't know that. But your organization can have lawyers and have legal stuff in place where you can opt out of contracts with companies.
More to the point of what he asked, it's because management wants to believe that they paid X million dollars for a system, so now they're secure. That's what they want. Right.
Yes, it's a psychological thing. That's absolutely right.
You guys are talking about at least two or three different things. The security that a device or a process imparts is irrelevant compared to the insecurity that poorly trained users and a poorly trained organization imparts, because they're two completely different things. Just like
Okay.
management buys these 16 different solutions to irrelevant to a poorly trained internal, you know, you guys
Yeah.
combat training for your people rather than just sticking a D on it.
Exactly.
Two completely unrelated.
Yeah, so David's saying that the human factor is totally unrelated to whether the product fails or not, and I totally agree.
Management understands that is also completely.
Exactly. So basically, communicate, educate everyone in your organization, including especially your management. We're out of time, and I gotta go. I'm sorry about that. But I'll be out here in the hall. I'm gonna wrap at 7. Please go down to Hackers for Charities, and just bid for something. Bid on something.
Raspberry Pi, that bitch is mine.
Yeah.
Somebody's bid on the Raspberry Pi, that bitch is mine.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.